желания, YouTube land товарищи. It's me again, Mr. Spank, and we are talking about Battle of Kham Duc. Kham Duc? Kham Duc? Kham Duc. So, Broken Arrow Events just had their first Namsoft event of 2020, and it was, ask anyone who was there, it was a success. I mean, we had 4 guys on the People's Army side representing, was that supposed to be historically 7,000? And about 14 guys on the GI side, Mike Force. Broken Arrow Events, B.A.E, Airsoft tries to make their Namsoft events relevant to historical actual events, trying to recreate some of the stuff that actually happened. So in this scenario, area was fighting off a large Vietnamese force. They had inserted, next day they had to get out. So, well, first of all, we were expecting pretty much a monsoon for the whole weekend. We really lucked out. It was warm weather, relatively dry. It was leftover wetness. And when you're at Tolcom in Tolland, Massachusetts, you expect to get wet, either because of the stream that we play in the valley side, because Tolland has, the Tolcom field has a relatively simpler, easier, gentler west field, and then across the street it's got the east field that goes down into a river valley, very steep hills, running water. So even if you avoid the stream, you're gonna end up all sweaty just coming out, marching up and down those hills. So staying dry is always relative on that field, and you're pretty much guaranteed to be wet, as we always are when we finish playing at this field. So first mission, we're supposed to intercept one element of the GI force coming in. We're aware of where their LZ is, and we pretty much know the route they're gonna take. So we set up a kill box, kind of a hybrid of a parallel ambush, kind of a parallel, because we had 2 guys situated on one side of the stream that cascades down, and we had other 2 guys on the other side. So it's kind of like an L-shaped ambush if you take your L and you really flatten it out, and then we have the stream coming down the middle. So I was situated on the north side of the bank, and that side is essentially like this steep in certain parts, and I was literally climbing up, and it was all still muddy from the earlier rain, and it falling apart under me, crawling up until I got to a little bit of a plateau, and down in the river portion, down where the stream cascades down, there's a bunch of boulders, fallen trees, and guys are situated there, and we are oriented towards facing west, where we expect them to march down from. While I'm up on the steep bank, I get low, start putting some foliage in the camo net of my helmet, and I'm laying flat, totally prone, watching that general direction in some ferns. So I feel I'm pretty secure. I'm out of sight, even if they notice me, even if they bother looking way up onto that ridge. I feel like I was concealed well. Laying there a while, and then it's like, no, they can't possibly be that loud. I'm hearing things. I've been in this observation point too long. I'm starting to hallucinate or something. So I start to scoot down down the ridge, and I want to just double check if John is hearing the same things I'm hearing. Just as I'm about to, hey, John, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Is when contact is made. All the action is happening not from the direction we were expecting. We were expecting it to come from the west. Instead, it was coming from the south. So fortunately, we were able to pivot and give it back to them. Honestly, I couldn't see them. I was at the furthest point away from them, and it looked like they were on the opposite ridge. And you know, you have your fire, you have some grenades going, boom, bang, and everything's glorious action. This is like my first contact since last winter. It's exciting, it's fun, but at the same time, I don't see the GIs. Almost all of them got their tiger stripes on for this event, Mike Force. And the only time I actually see them is when they are dashing somewhere, when they're making a move. So I'm not seeing BBs fly, I'm not seeing people anywhere. I just see something moved over there, something moved over there. And should have probably mentioned this, I'm a machine gunner. Everyone else has a AKM, and I've got the AK-47, AKM variants, while I've got the RPD. And that's why I'm situated up top, and I managed to scoot out of that little concealment point, and I get behind some cover that protects me from the south side. So I'm behind a tree, still up on that steep incline, on an edge, on a ledge, and I'm just shooting if I see movement somewhere, and just pretty much providing cover, sweeping fire, covering wherever someone might be, and I don't know if I'm getting anybody. I don't know if I'm getting any results, because this isn't the type of event. Broken arrow events are not the type of events where you're gonna have guys going like, hit, and putting on a red rag. Excuse me. This is more of like, oh, I'm hit, like, oh, and you just act it out and lay out. Maybe you'll call for a medic. Maybe you'll do a death gargle, like, before you die. But we're not screaming, hit, none of that. We're not throwing on red rags. Unless, you know, like, you've already bled out and you gotta go to your casualty collection point. So I don't know what type of results I'm getting or not. And we're there, there's still some shooting, and originally I was hoping that we would go, the rest of the guys would go through 2 mags, and then we do a pull out. Because we're not here to just be sticking around in a position. That's not the modus operandi, that's not the way the People's Army would operate. We're not there to stick it out because U.S. Army had access to a whole Air Force and artillery and all kinds of ways to flatten an area if they need to. So we hit, we duke it out for a little bit, and then we pull out. So we end up pulling out. As we're pulling out, we re-engage again. And we continue pulling out, and then our next mission involved probing a position towards the south of the field, outpost 6. So we managed to regroup. That took a little while because the GIs we intercepted didn't seem keen on leaving. It would be later on that I would find out that I'm the boogeyman, because apparently whenever something bad happens, it's Mr. Spank. That guy with the RPD, Mr. Spank, he killed the whole platoon, pretty much, is the story. I didn't feel like I got that many guys. I can't verify I killed anyone, but later on I hear like, oh yeah, you killed everyone, pretty much. But no, they got medic rules, they got patched up, so I don't think anyone was KIA, but definitely mass casualty device right here, bringing the pain. I did end up spending much more ammo than I thought I would spend in the first engagement. I had maybe a 3/4 full drum, so maybe like 1,500 BBs. And at the end of that engagement, I probably had maybe a couple of hundred BBs left in the drum. So I definitely spent more ammo than I was expecting to, considering I couldn't verify I got any kills. Once we regroup, there was much less planning involved with this next mission. We got our packs that were cached earlier. We marched down, and before we get to where we're expected to run into a different GI unit, we cache our rucks again, because we just went down a very steep hill, and we weren't gonna go back up to get our rucks. So we stashed them closer to where the ground levels off, where the river, the stream is. So this probe was technically kind of optional. We just needed to verify the GIs were in the area. If they haven't linked up with the other group that we had made contact with earlier, then we technically would be able to take them, because they were a smaller group, so 4 of us might have been able to take them out. So my orders are for them to just probe, and if we see there's a lot of them, we immediately pull back. If it's not, we don't go through more than 2 mags, but we pull back and we keep going. If they've already linked up, we were just gonna see it and move on to where we're gonna be making camp, because we haven't made camp just yet. We still have everything on our backs. So we cache our stuff a little bit northwest of where this GI outpost would be, and just after we cross the stream, we're just starting to probe. I got John on point, I'm in second position, and as soon as he kind of crests this little rise, it's contact, all this yelling, shooting. I see a body run that way and towards the stream, so I break off to the right and I want to intercept them, but pretty sure I heard Liam's voice, and then I took a hit. I was very disappointed, considering I lasted so long at that first engagement, didn't even get a hit on me, because they probably couldn't even see me. They had no idea where I was. And this time, I feel like I'm the first or second casualty. I go down. I'm in the stream, so I'm all wet because I'm playing dead in the water. I'm leaning back against the rise right behind me, and I'm in the water, just holding the RPD on my lap, put my helmet down over my face, and I'm just bleeding out. I notice Zach is right there. Zach, and then Zach dashes away. So they might have gotten all of us. I'm pretty sure they got all of us, because the other group shows up, they link up, and they're all around us, and I hear them marching. They're in front of me, they're behind me, they're to the left of me, they're to the right of me. I hear their voices all around me. They're counting bodies. They count up to 3 bodies. And they count 3 AKs. And I keep hearing them talking about, where's the LMG? Where's the LMG? Oh man, he's probably trying to lure us out. He's out there. Don't let him lure you out. Don't let him lure you out. He's out there. He's out there. Don't let him lure you out. While I'm right in the middle of them, I am literally in the middle of them, and I'm already hit, and either they don't see me or they have failed their Warsaw Pact weapons identification course, because maybe they identified my RPD as an AK. So I'm trying my hardest not to giggle under my helmet. They never locate my body, and they kind of move off back to their outpost position, and I feel safe enough to, I've already bled out a while ago. I took some hits while I was bleeding out, so technically they knew my body because they did shoot at my body. Move away and regroup with the guys. Across the stream, we do see some of the GIs still maybe doing a patrol, a search for that crazy LMG out there, that dangerous LMG, luring them out there, and they're out there. And they're kind of close. I mean, they're probably like 150 feet away, maybe 200 feet away from where we cached our rucks. And we don't want to just walk over there casually, kind of breaking the paradigm, just collecting our stuff and marching away. So we back away, we kind of get into defensive positions. There at one point, I'm eyeballing a guy. He's about 300 feet away, so he's out of range. And I don't know if he sees me. I definitely see him. I feel like he must see me. I see him doing signals and stuff, laying down, looking in my direction. No one's yelling contact, so no one's concerned if they see me. And slowly we kind of take our time to double back and loop around to get our rucks and pull out so that we can get back on our march. So that takes a little while for us to safely break away without kind of like breaking the meta game. And we're rucking it up back to essentially our position from last year's MacArthur event that Broken Arrow Events hosted. And we decide we're gonna go all the way up to the hill, and that's where we're gonna set up our camp. If they wanna raid us later, they're gonna have to work for it. We had to work for it too, because I'm hauling my whole pack and RPD. That LCT RPD is considerable heft to it. It weighs more than a PKM, and hauling it up the hill, I am pretty much exhausted. I feel already spent. It's just the middle of the day, and I feel spent. But almost all the way to the top, I end up dropping my ruck, leaving the RPD, finding the place where which we decide to set up camp. You know, you want good trees with good distance between the trees so we can all hang up our hammocks. So once that is established, I haul the rest of my stuff up there, we set up our hammocks, and we get to having our lunch set up. After we have our people's lunch, you know, we have a little AAR talking about how we did. Then we work on setting up our defenses. We are expecting to get hit on that hill. Fortunately, we still have most of the defenses set up from last year. So this is kind of like when the People's Army would go on rotations through different quadrants, and they would show up to a place where they already had defensive positions set up, and then they would make camp there and improve the positions before moving on to the next place. So that was kind of in character. So that's what we were doing. I was focused on my fighting position from last year that I was so proud of that I made. It was so much digging and hauling, and did some more improvements. I'm essentially watching the West Arc with George on my left flank, also kind of watching the West and a little bit of the South. And then we have Zach and John considerable distance away from us, but looking more on the South Arc. And once we finally have contact with that, we are doing pretty good, considering that they outnumber us like 3-1. I originally thought 4-1. They're coming at us considerably slower. We're effectively holding them back. I don't really know what's happening on the left flank. I do notice Zach and John did have to pull back higher up the hill. But I'm telling George, don't get sucked in. Maintain your arc. Focus on your arc. They're probing. Don't get pulled in over there. Stay in your position. Focus on your task. Same thing I'm telling to myself, and which was good, because I start seeing guys trying to flank us around under the ridge. And I had a little firing port set up in my fighting position, and I'm angling in there, and thing is, my RPD drum's kind of messed up. It will not feed unless I'm fingering that little man inside the boat there, and that's the only way. That's the only time she will feed is when I'm because the feed button is recessed in there, and due to earlier fixing, because LCT drum is crap, it will not hold a wind, so you gotta press the button so it winds and shoots, so you gotta cup it and lift the damn heavy thing like this to get a downward arc. So I don't think I was really feeding at my first burst, and one guy was really lucky and he just got startled and dashed down. But I'm trying to hold them from going further, flanking us further. I managed, I think, to get a couple of guys, but they do continue on their flank maneuver, and I managed to pivot myself. And so now I'm watching the west arc, the north arc. Now I'm focusing on the north, where I'm not as well protected, and I'm prone in my hole. I have a little bit of barrier of some branches laying down, and I'm going out. I'm definitely getting guys, and I see this one guy trying to dash down to help a casualty, and then all I see is, whoa! The guy freaking cartwheels down the hill unintentionally, and I'm genuinely concerned, kind of breaking character. I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Fortunately, it was a younger guy. You know, they'll bounce back. You know, like freaking toddlers, they're soft and bouncy. He was okay. I managed to actually KIA some of these guys, because I think I hit them enough times. They got bandaged so many times that they literally, 3 of them just died. But I think that was only 3 out of 5. So at least 2 guys from that flanking maneuver eventually made their way up to our camp. Once I feel like I'm done with those guys, like those 3 KAs, I see them walking out, and I'm like, George, you back there, George? George isn't back there. His green head is not back there. And I'm like, maybe he went to respawn up the hill. I'm not hearing any combat anywhere else. I don't see my comrades. I don't hear any yelling. And then off towards the south, I see, are they dead? Is that a casualty collection point? What's going on over there? Guys are being very casual. There's a lot of them, so it's not the People's Army, it's a bunch of GIs. And I'm wondering, is it safe for me to reposition myself? They obviously have no idea where I am. They haven't been able to shoot at me. And then I see someone walking casually from the south northward, about my level of the hill. So I shoot him. And then there's a panic, and people are dashing around. So it's like, okay, so we're still being under attack. The thing is, this mission was supposed to end for them at a certain point. If they weren't able to take the hill by a certain time hack, their mission was supposed to be over. They were supposed to leave and try again later at night. So I wasn't sure if that was happening, but apparently not, because they're still trying to fight us. I'm seeing guys on my east already up the hill running around. I get one. I think I try to get the guy trying to rescue him. I try to get the guy trying to rescue the guy shot in the south. So I'm constantly pivoting while I'm prone. It's really uncomfortable, especially trying to wield this super heavy gun while trying to, cup that drum while fingering that hole. Oh, it's very annoying. So I make 2 more casualties, and I'm trying to focus. It's hard to focus in that direction and in that direction while having to pivot this heavy thing while prone. And eventually, they just started shooting everywhere. 100% they had no idea where I was because I caught a random BB, a single BB, bloop. But there were no other BBs landing around me, so I don't know if even that was a ricochet or not or something. Or maybe it was one of the leftover raindrops still on the trees, because there's plenty of those all weekend just dropping randomly. So it's definitely not like they saw me. So I do my bleed out and I'm casually walking up to the camp to see what's going on. And it does seem like, well, as I'm walking out, well, George also kind of walks out with me. So he survived a long while too. And we did lose the hill, but we made him work for it. Just the four of us gave him real hell of a time. They probably thought it was going to be much easier. Because I think Liam told me that the battle for the hill lasted about an hour and a half. And I think last summer when we had much more guys on the defense, it went down faster. So, good job, comrades. We gave them hell. We made them work for that hill. Then we were essentially recuperating, gonna have some meal before it was lights out. Our night mission ends up being hitting their camp, because I don't think they were ready to try to hit our hill again in the night, because that is exhausting. So we end up after a great communal dinner situation, AAR meal, ready to march. We waited until it got dark. Perhaps we shouldn't have. It was as dark as the devil's asshole. The devil's asshole. Super dark. Practically pitch black. I had my hand in front of John's hand like this. He didn't see it. It was horrible. I loved it. We had John on point, and he wasn't even gonna bother with the red filter because it was just too damn dark. There was tons of boulders and fallen branches, so much stuff. So we felt while we're far away from the enemy, we don't need to put on filters. It was a nice compliment to hear from John that the tags I made to hang at the backs of our helmets, the Vietnamese had these little wooden tags, and they would have fluorescent something on it, and that was to help them keep track of each other on march through the darkness. And those things I made years ago, and they still work pretty good. Considering how dark it was, they worked really good. As John said, those tags are the tits, and that's a compliment. And we barely saw each other, and we lost our point man. Two of us lost the other two, but we just followed the river down because we knew the outpost was downstream, and sometimes we'd see John's light, sometimes it would be the lightning bugs. That was so weird, like some really bright bugs out there. Eventually we regroup, and just after we regrouped, we must have stumbled into the GIs. They are yelling contact. They saw his white light. Bra, 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 bra. George is borrowing my AK tracer mag. I've got my drum set up to use tracers. There'll be a video about that. That was successful. And we're kind of just stumbling in the dark, trying to get towards the enemy based on their sounds, because they weren't using tracers. Just trying to figure out where they are by the sound. They definitely threw a grenade. I don't know where, maybe at each other. Grenade went off. That helped us go towards their direction. But it was kind of a waste of ammo, because we didn't see them at all. I don't think they saw us at all because they were kind of just shooting in our general direction, but there was times where we'd freely in full height be moving and there'd be fire happening and it wouldn't be coming in our direction. It was interesting that at one point we did all get up at once and we all like kind of took one step forward and everyone opened fire, but not at us. Like, this must have been some very interesting coincidence that they all opened fire when we started to move, but not where we were moving. That was fun. But yeah, a lot of wasted ammo because we couldn't see them. I don't think we hit anyone. After the event, one of the guys told me that my tracers were landing maybe like 100 feet away from them. So, and I was like pretty much hosing where sounds were coming from or where they might be. Wasted almost all my tracers on a whole lot of nothing. Just put on a light show. I don't know how many people enjoyed it. If you were there and you enjoyed the tracer light show, let me know in the comments. And we end up pulling back, and again, the devil's asshole is very dark, very dark. So we managed to stumble our way back. John's on point, and he should be called St. John. 3 miracles. He found the enemy somehow while navigating through the devil's asshole. He made it home. He managed to find our way back to our camp in the devil's asshole, and he made me feel good about myself. 3 miracles. He's a saint. The next morning, they wanted us to hit them while they're having breakfast. They were definitely awake by the time we were marching, and so only one mission Sunday morning. Rock on and intercept them when they're trying to exfil. While they're trying to exfiltrate from the area of operation, they're going back up to where that LZ was, so we know their general route, and we try to set up on the ridge so we have the elevation advantage. But we didn't actually try to get them while they were eating breakfast. We did make contact, visual contact, and it looked like the guys were on the other side, the other bank, and it looked like they were already moving northward. So we weren't going to try to hit someone if they're theoretically still having breakfast when we already see units moving out. So we are worried we're going to miss them. So we bounced in, and we're not sure if that was just a probing unit moving northward, what they were up to, where they were trying to get a peek at our camp, or could be the tail element of it. We missed them already. So we move back and we move back and we move back, and we essentially reposition where the stream that cascades down into the bigger stream to the river meets, because even if they're on the other bank, they're gonna have to cross this way. Once again, we're set up and we're kind of facing east and south, and once again they end up coming from a slightly different direction than they're coming from the south. So once again, pivot, and I'm not sure if they saw me or not, but I had the guys with the kerchiefs right on my 12, and they went down. They didn't start shooting, but they did stop. I'm not sure if they took a knee or not. I don't know if they saw me or someone else. And after we pivot, open fire. And I start giving orders to Zach and George to loop back around me, to get into the crevasse that the stream goes in, so they have cover to go around me. Because when I pivoted, I ended up going off, and most of me is behind a barrier, the crevice, so water is right behind me. out of the water. I hose them down. I don't know how many I got or not. There was one guy hiding behind a tree, and it's like his giant ruck is sticking out of the tree, and I'm just letting him know, like, if I'm reaching you, your ruck is Swiss cheese. Because I don't know if he is beyond my maximum range or not, but it was wide open, and I'm like really trying to arc him in, drop in on him. Pretty sure I hit some people, and what we're doing is we're bounding westward, like back away, cover, bound up, try to get the high ground, because we see that they're not going all the way to the stream at this point because we're blocking them, and they decided to just cut directly east. And I'm telling the guys, get up those hills, block them, get into a defensive position so that they're running into you. You got some defensive, and you can stop their approach up the hill. John, at the meantime, was on the other bank, because I sent him over there to probe to see if anyone was on the other side and if he could, you know, shake the hornet's nest. So he was kind of late to the party. He ends up joining us and supporting us, moving in from the east, going towards west, trying to get up the hill. So at this point, where it's kind of just a parallel fight, I keep sending guys more and more east, trying to get into defensive positions so they can be more effective as the GIs are trying to escape. And at one point, the GIs make it out of the tree line, out of the jungle, almost in the clearing, and they must be reassessing, and they're feeling, I guess, safe, because they're acting very casual. So I end up peeking out into the clearing and hosing them some more, and then they just break out shooting everything and everywhere, and I'm trying to get out of the danger zone. I'm on top of this slightly fallen apart stone wall, and I end up tumbling with the RPD down this stone wall on all the rocks. But fine, didn't even have any bruising. It was fun. And then I'm just hearing, like, don't leave your man behind, don't leave your man behind. And I'm trying to get out of the arc of where all the shooting is happening to reposition myself so I can get a better angle, and trying to catch up to them while they're hauling ass through the clearing, hoping that maybe I can catch up to them and hose them down in the open. By the time I managed to do my maneuver, they're way out of sight. I don't know which way they went on the high-speed trail, or if they tried to cut straight through the clearing to safety. I don't know how, but essentially they made it to the LZ. As far as I was concerned, it's game. Out in the sun, way too hot to try to run after them through the tall grass. But it was a great event. There wasn't like constant fighting every 15 minutes or even every hour, but the firefights we did have, except for the night one where we were just shooting at I don't know what, it were great. The opponents, our adversaries, they were intelligent in using maneuver. There was no issues, no worries about people not calling hits, which I love. This is very common for our niche type of events where we have not 100 people or whatever, and we pretty much know everyone, and everyone's being honest, and we really lucked out on the weather. The missions made sense. It was a great day to milsim, a great weekend of milsim. You know, used everything we brought, so didn't feel like we had to haul any dead weight with us. It was a good time coming out of and then talking to the guys after the event while we're getting all that sweaty mess off of us, and they're like, the only time I saw you was when you came out of the field. And it's like, yes, because before the game started they were like, see you out there, and I'm like, not if I'm doing it right. And I doing it right. They didn't see me. They blame like all the KIAs, all the hits on me. It's not true. The People's Army was there, a whole 7,000 of us. So George, John, Zach, good fighters. They knew what they were doing. They were able to follow orders. Frankly, George kind of saved me in more ways than one through this weekend. Not even like pretend death type of a save. I'm talking about real life type of stuff. You're my hero, George. It was good, great experience. I'm really looking forward to the next one in August. Cochise Green, Broken Arrow Events, Cochise Green. And I hope you enjoyed me babble on about my fun Namsoft experience. Thank you, Broken Arrow Events. Thank you, my comrades that were fighting with me for the people's cause. One Vietnam, one Vietnam. And all the good sports on the evil imperialist round-eyed green tiger side. It was a pleasure mowing you down. See you out there, YouTube lamp tavarishi. Professional.